Yeah, you know who it is, and for those of you that don't, I'm Cytonius, the opposite of Stephonius! From Speak Geek Unlimited. And I just want to say one thing.
God, I love being a turtle!
For kids who grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, it is impossible to have not been a fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. From the super popular and game-changing animated series, to having the top-selling toy line of the 80s and 90s, to video games. Hell, they even gave these motherfuckers their own limited edition pie.
We're heroes in a half show, we're making a surprise. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pie. Fresh from the sewers to you. Their minds are delicious, you know that's true. Because they're filled with mutagen goo. That's vanilla pudding goo. They got the tastiest, flakiest, greatest crust. Even better than on pizza. And it's free like us. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pie. Fresh from the sewers to you. Radically sweet.
It can't be beat.
And there's a free turtle sticker inside, that's me. New from Boston. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pie. Fresh from the sewers to you.
It's not an understatement to say that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles ran shit. So after achieving pop culture ubiquity, the next logical step would be to conquer Hollywood. Released to theaters on March 30th, 1990, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles the movie would prove to be one of the greatest comic book film adaptations of all time. For those that don't know, the Ninja Turtles actually started as a darker and less comedic underground comic that borrowed elements from several popular comics of the 80s. The Teenage Mutant aspect is borrowed from the Chris Claremont run of The New Mutants, which was a spin-off of the X-Men that focused on Teenage Mutants. The ninja element of the series was borrowed from Frank Miller's run on Daredevil, with characters like Splinter being based on Daredevil's mentor Stick, and the Foot Clan being based on the Hand, along with the mutagen that gave Daredevil his powers being the same mutagen that mutated the Turtles. Eastman and Laird were also influenced by the Dave Sims comic Cerebus, about an anthropomorphic aardvark who was actually a parody of the character Conan the Barbarian. What a lot of people may not know is that a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film had been in development since the mid-80s, even before the animated series even aired. The movie rights to the Ninja Turtles were purchased by surfer and film producer Gary Proper, who thought that the Turtles would make a great film. Proper partnered with producer Kim Dawson, who brought in television screenwriter and former actor Bobby Herbert, who was known for writing episodes on shows like Small Wonder and The Jeffersons, to write the first draft of the script. Bobby Herbert's first draft was deemed as unfilmable, but had potential, so screenwriter Todd Langen, who was known for writing shows like The Wonder Years, was brought in to revise the script. In fact, what I think makes this film special is its script. While a lot of people love to credit films like Superman, Batman Begins, and the X-Men for introducing emotional depth and integrity to comic book films, we can argue that the first Ninja Turtles film needs to be added to that list. The first Ninja Turtles film takes the humanity and importance of family themes that feature heavily in 1978 Superman and the dark and gritty aesthetics of Tim Burton's 1989 Batman film, and mixes them together to create what I think is one of the most authentic and source material accurate comic book films of all time. The secret to the film's success, and why it stands strong as one of the best adaptations of the Ninja Turtles, is rather than using the 80s animated series as the source material, this film uses the dark and gritty Mirage comics as the inspiration for the story. Director Steve Barron used several issues of the original Mirage comics as storyboards for the film. This movie draws inspiration from at least 6 issues of the original comics, specifically the first 3 issues of the main series, which focused on the origin of the Turtles, their first encounter with April O'Neil, and their first fight with the Shredder. Along with the story Me, Myself, and I, from the Raphael micro-series, which focused on Raphael meeting Casey Jones for the first time, along with the issue What Goes Around Comes Around from the Leonardo micro-series, which focused on Leonardo getting ambushed by the Foot Clan and beaten into a coma. The movie decides to use Raphael instead of Leonardo, his silent partner, and true stories, which deal with April, Casey, and the Turtles being defeated by the Foot Clan and retreating to Northampton. When the movie first came out, critics actually didn't like it. They thought it was shallow and mindless entertainment and was too dark to be a kid's movie.
Our next film is a smash hit, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's the top grossing movie in the country right now, as you may know, and its success obviously has to do with the popularity of the TV cartoon show on which it is based, and with the utter lack of children's films. There isn't a whole lot on the screen to recommend this movie, however, which is basically a brainless action picture mixed with music video sequences. I didn't like the picture, and I hope this isn't a case of kids just settling for something familiar. Actually, I think it is.
I was also interested in the high level of your criticism when you pointed out that these turtles only pay lip service to ninja teachings. I suppose you would have liked it better if it had been a more devout and religious film.
Well, if somehow, I'm looking for something there for kids. They're, you know, like the Karate Kid film, at least there's a suggestion of some kind of altruistic behavior.
What?
Man, sit your dumb ass down and shut.
What a lot of those critics seem to overlook is that this film is filled with heart, integrity, and is anything but a mindless action movie. Unlike the 80s animated series that treated the Ninja Turtles like characters in a sitcom, and the Mirage comics which, as impactful as they were, don't give the Turtles very strong personalities. It's this film's version of the Ninja Turtles that I think has the most emotional depth and personality, and serve as the template for how the Ninja Turtles have been represented in mass media for the past 20 plus years. If you don't believe me, just look at the underrated and underappreciated 2003 animated series, or the 2007 CGI animated film, or the 2012 Nickelodeon series. All of those shows pay homage to the 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film in some way, shape, or form. This film goes beyond the idea that Leonardo leads, Donatello does machines, and that Raphael is crude and rude, and that Michelangelo is a party dude. In this film, Leonardo still leads, but he isn't very good at it. This version of Leonardo is a bit more sensitive and easygoing than other versions of the character. And while he is portrayed as the most focused student of Splinter's ninjutsu teachings and as the de facto leader of the group, he doesn't have the wisdom and empathy of Splinter that's required to be an effective leader. This film also introduces the trend of Leonardo and Raphael having conflict that wasn't present in the Mirage comics or in the animated series before this movie. This version of Raphael is actually the turtle who is the closest to his Mirage counterpart. He's angry and filled with teen angst, and while he is a bit less violent and sociopathic, this version of Raphael is a pretty good adaptation of the original comic. The Raphael in this film isn't the sarcastic, fourth wall breaking Deadpool-esque character from the animated series.
You'd better, or else I'm gonna get sarcastic.
He's in an old mansion on Green Street near 10th. He's got a master control for all the mousers there.
Your hairy little friend knows me as Oroku Saki. But you may call me the Shredder.
A kitchen utensil?
This is how this movie portrays Raphael. Raphael in this film is the emotional centerpiece for the first part of the movie. And while I have heard comparisons that Raphael is the dark Batman type character or the Wolverine of the Ninja Turtle franchise, I think this version of Raphael has more in common with another famous comic book character, Benjamin J. Grimm, aka The Thing. Everything from the trench coat, the tough guy with the heart of gold persona, the Brooklyn accent, all of that starts here in this film. Raphael's character arc in the film parallels two other characters in the movie, Casey Jones and Danny Pennington. Casey Jones, who is played perfectly by Elias Koteas, is a perfect reflection of Raphael's anger, minus the fatherly wisdom from Splinter. Casey Jones in this film is raw, violent, and unfiltered, and while he means well, he is most certainly a sociopathic vigilante who killed the Shredder.
Without honor.
Oops!
Danny is a reflection of Raphael's teen angst, Danny joins the Foot Clan in hopes of finding a surrogate family to replace his father, who's a working-class single parent who lacks the time and wisdom to guide Danny on the right path, unlike Splinter, who's filled with wisdom and empathy for his sons. If you really think about it, this film is also a critique of the white-collar working-class capitalism mode of production and how that can affect parenting.
I make more than enough money to provide for both of us, and you're stealing. Why?
I don't know.
You don't know? What the heck were you doing with the car stereo anyway? Or don't you know that either?
Sorry.
Sorry? Not as sorry as you're gonna be after school. Danny! Damn it! Danny, come back here!
Rather than seeking to understand Danny's alienation and angst, Charles mentions money and uses harsh, stern discipline to address Danny's issues. But when Raphael is dealing with those same feelings of teen angst, Splinter deals with it like this.
Raphael, come sit by me.
Couldn't this wait till morning?
You will listen now. My Master Yoshi's first rule was possess the right thinking. Only then can one receive the gifts of strength, knowledge, and peace. I have tried to channel your anger, Raphael, but more remains. Anger clouds the mind. Turned inward, it is an unconquerable enemy. You are unique among your brothers, for you choose to face this enemy alone. But as you face it, do not forget them, and do not forget me. I am here, my son.
Raphael's anger and angst isn't just used to make the film dark or superficially gritty. It's actually an important part of his growth and character development. Raphael's anger is never rewarded. In fact, as tough as a fighter as Raphael appears to be in the first half of the film, Raphael falls short in just about every fight he's in. When the film opens up, the Turtles take down some thugs who attack April, and Raphael is the only turtle to lose a weapon. When he fights Casey Jones, Raphael actually loses that fight. And while he does take down foot soldiers in the subway and save April O'Neil, it's Raphael who inadvertently causes the Foot to find their home and kidnap Splinter. In fact, it's Raphael who has the strongest reaction to discovering that Splinter's been kidnapped. A lot of people think that this scene is just another moment where Raphael is raging out. But Raphael's anger in this scene isn't rooted in blind rage. It's rooted in guilt. Raphael feels responsible for leading the Foot Clan to their home. In fact, another moment which showcases Raphael's guilt about Splinter is the scene where he's arguing with Leonardo.
So what do we do now?
What do you mean, what do we do now?
Splinter's out there somewhere.
I know Splinter's out there. Fight?
Fight.
Kitchen?
Kitchen.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do about it?
What can we do about it? April's our only link to these guys. We have to wait until she comes up with something.
Oh, so that's the plan from our great leader, huh? Just sit here on our butts.
I never said I was your great leader.
Well, you sure act like it sometimes.
Yeah? Well, you act like a jerk sometimes, you know that? And this attitude of yours isn't helping anything.
Yeah? Well, maybe I'll just take my attitude and leave.
Why don't you?
I will.
Good.
Great.
Go ahead. We don't need you.
It's this argument which leads to Raphael taking his biggest loss in the film. It's this good old-fashioned passionate ass-whooping that teaches Raphael that anger and self-isolation do not make a good Ninja Turtle. And the best part about all of that is that the film never, not once, spells any of that out for the audience with self-important monologues and expository dialogue. The film takes a moment to slow down in the second act, where the Turtles, Casey Jones and April, retreat to Northampton after their defeat from the Foot Clan. This section of the film is used to let the audience see the vulnerable side of the Turtles, April and Casey. We get to see April and Casey Jones fall in love. We see Leonardo wallow in self-pity, guilt, and depression after Raphael is beaten into a coma by the Foot Clan. And we get to see Michelangelo. Wait. No, we don't. In fact, Michelangelo is missing from a large portion of the second act of the film. And there's a reason for this. In the first part of this video, I mentioned that Raphael and his anger and teen angst was the emotional centerpiece of the first part of the movie. Well, in the original script, it was Michelangelo who was going to be the emotional center of the second half of the film. When April is drawing pictures and reflecting about her and the Turtles' time on the farm, Michelangelo is the only turtle who isn't mentioned. Scenes were filmed that showed Michelangelo being isolated and angry about Splinter's kidnapping and Raphael's ass whooping by the Foot Clan. These scenes included Michelangelo training alone and hitting a heavy bag, a scene that was actually added in the film, and Michelangelo getting angry and tearing apart the barn. There's even a scene that was filmed of Michelangelo screaming Splinter at the top of the barn, but the film redubs this with Raphael's voice. There was even a sketch of Michelangelo that was drawn by artist Karen Stewart, but was never used in the final film. The reason this subplot was removed from the film is because producers thought that it would be too jarring for kids to see Michelangelo, who's supposed to be the easygoing and fun-loving Ninja Turtle, expressing rage and anger. In fact, this scene was so pivotal to the story of the film that actress Judith Hoag, who played April O'Neil, criticized producers for removing this from the movie. She mentioned that the film lost a lot of its soul, while the producers of the film felt that kids only wanted to see the Ninja Turtles fighting. This dispute between Hoag and the producers was actually one of the factors that led to her not reprising the role in future films, which is kind of a tragedy because in my opinion, Judith Hoag is the definitive live-action April O'Neil. Unlike the other actresses who portrayed April in the other films who gave off more of a big sister vibe, Judith Hoag in the first film starts off as a damsel in distress and an object of romantic desire for the Turtles. But as the film progresses and they grow into a family, she becomes more of a nurturing motherly figure. Another missing piece of the farmhouse section of the film is an extended training scene with the Ninja Turtles. In the finished film, this scene is chopped up and shown as a montage, but the true version of this scene shows Leonardo teaching his brothers how to fight blindfolded. In the original script, Leonardo introduces the idea of fighting without sight after watching Raphael and Michelangelo spar. He sees that they're focusing on trying to overpower each other. Leonardo tells his brothers to attack him all at once while he's blindfolded. Raphael tells Leo to cut it out, and Leonardo smacks Raphael with his sword. Raphael gets upset and attacks Leonardo, who's blindfolded, and Leonardo disarms him. The other turtles are impressed by what they saw, and they all start trying this new method of fighting. Raphael, of course, is the turtle that struggles the most with the blindfolded training. And Michelangelo is the turtle who does the best with it, as you can see from this clip. There's even more ninja training that was supposed to be in the film. In the original script, there was a scene where the turtles would play a game of hot potato, but with an apple that would get tossed around, and whoever has it must defend it and take a bite of the apple until it's finished. This was even referenced in the film where the turtles fight the Foot Clan in the sewer, and Raphael says,
"Gosh, I do hope there's more of them."
So let me get this straight. So producers felt that kids only wanted to see the turtles fighting and cut out what could have been one of the best moments of the Ninja Turtles fighting? One thing I really appreciate about this movie is the fight choreography. Because the movie was co-produced by Golden Harvest, the same Golden Harvest that produced every martial arts movie from Hong Kong legends like Bruce Lee, and also films from Jackie Chan and Jet Li. The films have a sense of style and strategy that wasn't present in a lot of 80s and 90s era American-produced martial arts films, from actors like Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme. Producer Kim Dawson thought that the best way to capture the level of skill that 4 ninja-trained turtles would possess would be to use some of Hong Kong's best stuntmen and martial artists. In fact, at the start of the film's production, all 4 in-suit martial arts performers for the Ninja Turtles were Hong Kong stuntmen. But early in production, the in-suit performers for Donatello and Raphael were injured and were replaced by 17-year-old Ernie Reyes Jr., who did the fight scenes for Donatello, and 19-year-old Ken Scott, who would do the fight scenes for Raphael. The fights in the film were choreographed by Pat Johnson, who worked on films like The Karate Kid and the 1995 live-action Mortal Kombat film. The mistake I've seen with other Ninja Turtle films is that the fighting is shallow, over-stylized, and overly choreographed. The fights in the film are filled with an emotional rawness, but are also balanced with a level of fun and humor that keeps this movie from taking itself too serious. While many parents complain that the fighting in the film is too violent, I actually think this film is very thoughtful in how it approaches violence. While other 90s kids films that had violence like Home Alone, Three Ninjas, or even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze treated violence like slapstick Looney Tunes cartoons with little to no consequence, this film is actually very progressive in showing that there are in fact repercussions to violence. We see the Turtles tired and bruised when they fight the Foot Clan and the Shredder. We see Splinter bloody from being tortured. Raphael is beaten into a coma and April's apartment is burned to the ground. And while these are very intense moments in a movie that is made for kids, the violence and fighting in the movie is never mean-spirited or gratuitous. Writer Bobby Herbeck stated that he wanted the fights to be rooted in lessons that the Turtles would have to learn in order to master ninjutsu. The central theme of the film is the importance of family and how Splinter is trying to teach his sons how to be united in mind, body, and spirit. Splinter even mentions this in the film.
Ninja skills are reaching their peak. Only one truly important lesson remains, but must wait. You have learned the final and greatest truth of the ninja. That ultimate mastery comes not of the body, but of the mind. Together, there is nothing your 4 minds cannot accomplish. Help each other, draw upon one another, and always the true force that same as that which brought me here tonight. That which I gladly return with my final words. I love you all, my sons.
The movie does a very subtle and clever trick. Since one of the thematic through lines of the film is about learning the importance of fighting as one, all 4 turtles aren't shown fighting together until the end of the film. In fact, this is something most people probably never paid attention to, but the turtles actually lose most of the fights in the film. When Raphael fights the Foot on April's rooftop, he loses. When the other 3 turtles fight the Foot in April's apartment, they lose. When the Turtles fight the Shredder on the rooftop, they also lose. Instead of a one-off final boss like he was in the Mirage comics, or a goofy supervillain that was voiced by Uncle Phil like in the 80s animated series.
Oh, ugly child. My condolences, madam.
I'm going back into the house, and when I come out, I want all these freeloading parasites out of here!
This version of the Shredder is a dangerous and strategic ninja master who corrupted the concept of family to get teenagers to do his dirty work. The final fight between the Turtles and the Shredder represents everything that Splinter has been trying to teach his sons throughout the film. Splinter stressed the importance of fighting with mind, body, and spirit, and the importance of fighting as one. But when they fight the Shredder, they don't use any of those lessons. The Turtles make several mistakes in this fight. The first mistake they make is that they're cocky and they fight the Shredder like he's just another foot soldier.
I got him.
He is not. The other mistake is that they don't fight him together.
This guy's good.
Yeah. Why don't you go next?
Thank you.
They should. The final mistake they make against the Shredder is that they fight with anger and not with strategy. When Shredder implies that he killed Splinter, the Turtles lose their composure and start fighting angry and recklessly, while the Shredder is calm and uses counterattacks to take each turtle off balance. If you pay close attention, the Shredder never strikes any of the Turtles, except Leonardo, who's the only turtle to land a strike against him. I've heard other reviewers claim that the film's final act doesn't work because the Turtles didn't defeat the Shredder, and I disagree. Another thematic through line in the film is how anger and rage are ineffective. The Turtles fight Shredder with anger and can't beat him. It's Splinter, who was played perfectly by Elmo puppeteer Kevin Clash, who injects Splinter with the strength and wisdom that's reminiscent of Yoda or Mr. Miyagi, that beat Shredder. And he didn't use any fancy ninja moves or backflips or anything like that. In fact, you can make the argument that Shredder took himself out. This is actually my favorite version of the Shredder, and in my opinion, deserves to be mentioned alongside other legendary comic book movie villains like Thanos, Heath Ledger's Joker, and Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2. This film's version of the Shredder is a dark and ominous father figure that acts as a contradiction to the gentle and enlightened father figure that Splinter represents. This version of the Shredder is also a top-to-bottom reboot of the character, and was actually played by 3 people. The actor who portrays Shredder was Japanese-American actor James Saito, but his voice was dubbed by David McCharron, and an unnamed Hong Kong stuntman performed all of his martial arts fight scenes. In the Mirage comics, Oroku Saki was actually the younger brother of Oroku Nagi, who was a high-ranking member of the Foot Clan who was in love with Hamato Yoshi's girlfriend Tang Shin. When Tang Shin rejects Nagi, he attacks her, which causes Yoshi to kill Nagi. After learning about his brother's murder, Saki devotes his life to killing Hamato Yoshi and Tang Shin, and actually becoming the leader of the Foot Clan, which he actually does. If there was one thing I wish the film and the later sequels touched on, would be how the Foot Clan was formed, and how they rose to power. I would have loved to have seen a sequel that gave us a bit more backstory on the origins of the Foot Clan and Tatsu, and maybe even introduced the character of Karai. For a film that's so close to my heart, it isn't without its flaws. One negative critique I have for the movie is that Donatello is the turtle with the least amount of emotional depth. Because so much of the story revolves around the Turtles and their relationship with Splinter, I think it's interesting that Donatello is the only turtle that never really has a moment with Splinter, or even expresses any feelings about Splinter when he's kidnapped. Raphael has a scene at the beginning of the movie with Splinter. Leonardo telepathically connects with Splinter on the farm, and Michelangelo cries during the campfire scene. But Donatello does nothing. Now there is this scene.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
Hey, Mikey, did you ever think about what Splinter said tonight? I mean, about what it would be like. You know, not having him.
Time's up. $3 off.
But aside from that, the movie doesn't do too much with Donatello. Now earlier in the video, I mentioned that Raphael is the angry and angsty Benjamin Grimm of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which by default would make Donatello Reed Richards. But because this film is more emotional and less scientific, the writers of the film probably had trouble finding places for Donatello to shine. There is a really good scene with Casey Jones and Donatello on the farm bonding. But in the original comic, that scene was originally between Casey and Raphael, which makes more sense. I'm also not sure how I feel about Corey Feldman as Donatello. He never really voiced him like an intellectual and came off as more of another version of Michelangelo. In fact, Corey Feldman was one of the last actors to get involved with the film. The original plan was for the in-suit actors to provide the voices which you can actually hear in the original trailer for the film.
Our family grows. The city itself will be our playground to use as we please, rewarding ourselves and punishing our enemies.
We've been looking for you, Miss O'Neill.
There is a new enemy, freaks of nature. Together, we will punish these creatures.
What the heck was that?
Looked like sort of a big turtle in a trench coat.
Awesome!
Excellent! Yeah! I love being a turtle!
But in post-production, the Turtles, Shredder, and even Tatsu all had their voices redubbed with different actors. It's a miracle the film came out as good as it did. Director Steve Barron was actually fired from the film by the studio towards the end of the movie. The film was under budget, the actors in the turtle suits damn near died from overheating and exhaustion. Everything that could have gone wrong with this movie when it was being filmed went wrong. And in spite of all of that, they went on to make one of the greatest comic book movie adaptations of all time. I mean, no other Ninja Turtle film compares to the level of thought, care, and integrity that was put into this one. This is the Ninja Turtle movie that every other film featuring 4 teenage mutants is measured against, with the other films in the franchise failing to measure up to the high standard of storytelling and filmmaking that starts with this movie. Secret of the Ooze is trying too hard to not be as dark as the first film, and winds up becoming a live-action version of the 80s cartoons that, in my opinion, doesn't hold up outside of the realm of nostalgia. The 2007 CGI film is trying too hard to recapture the magic of the first film, but doesn't have the same emotional weight and potency. The Michael Bay produced films fail because they're just shallow cash grabs that are the equivalent of fast food movie making. And Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Part 3, yeah, you can just put that in the car and drive it off a cliff.